everyone. My name is Anaya Sancheti, and I'm currently a second year student at Emory University in the US. And I am studying psychology and data science. And for one reason why I love this service design project is because I got to understand how consumers think and how they make decisions. And I've applied this and I've understood this through this entire process. Yeah, okay. So this is our service design thinking project we did for Monginis. So now let me talk about the brand. So Monginis is an Indian multinational pastry and bakery chain, and it's based both in India and in Egypt. And its main headquarters is in Mumbai, and it was founded 64 years ago. The main products which they sell are cakes, pastries, chocolates, savories, confectionaries. And in and around Pune and the outskirts, there are about 115 outlets. And also, the main master franchise owner and our main client was Mr. Shabir Kanorewala, who was really involved throughout this entire process. And also, one aspect about Monginis, which is really unique, is that it is self owned and it's like a franchise based model. So each owner was very motivated during the entire process. And whenever we asked them questions, they gave really good answers, good feedback, and they were really collaborative with us, and they always answered whatever we needed. And the primary objective of service design is basically to improve an aspect of customer service at all the retail outlets in Monginis. So now in service design, there are five main steps. So the first one is empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So in our first step, it is empathize. So what we did is we wanted to put ourselves in the consumer's shoes. So what we did was we observed, as Adi said, like observing is really important. So we observed the different stores in and around Pune. So we went to around 10 to 15 locations, all of us, like sometimes we went together, sometimes the partners split up. We also went to Satara, which is like on the outskirts of Pune, and we got a lot of feedback through these observations. As you can see in the pictures, there's a picture from Satara, one from Aund, one from Undri. And also we went to different competitor stores to get a better idea of how consumers react to those stores, so that we get a better understanding and perspective on how we can improve the strengths and weaknesses in Monginis shops and how cake shops are supposed to be, and to better understand the back end. And when we went to the place, we also had a lot of customer interactions. We observed the stores. Yeah. So our next step was to define. So for that, we also created an empathy map. So an empathy map is basically to understand how a consumer says, thinks, does, and feels. So when you enter a shop, what a customer usually says is what are the different types of cakes available, what is the price of each cake, then whether they could get a decoration or a candle for the cake. And even when you're entering the store, you think of whether I'll get parking or not, whether I'll get cheap prices, whether I'll get the cake I want, whether I'll get the product I want, will they customize it for me? And also, there's an entire process when you enter the store. It's an entire, you enter the store and how you pay for it. It's an entire process. And also, when you feel, you usually go to a cake shop and you're excited about something. When there's an event or something you're excited about, so usually in a happy mood when you go to a cake shop and you want to celebrate something. So that is what we gathered through our observations as a customer. And then we also created a customer journey map. So the first step is choosing a location. You preferably go to a location which is near to you. Then also you enter the shop and you observe for any particular product which you want. Then you choose a cake based on your preference, then your conversation with the shopkeeper and what event you're going for. Then the next is the price. You definitely check whether it fits your price range. Then you purchase the product using either cash or GPay or card, whatever suitable for you. And then you leave the store, and usually you either refrigerate the cake as soon as you reach home, or you either eat the product in 10-15 minutes of buying it. So further, when we did all of these steps, the empathy map and all of them, we reached to 70 to 80 observations while visiting these outlets. And I think the client and us both shortlisted on 6 main points, which included the product and accessories placement. Like throughout a few stores, I think it wasn't super uniform. Like all of the stores had these points in them, but they did not have it in the similar manner throughout each store. It wasn't super uniform. So they had different seasonal decor throughout each shop, the product variety based on what the customers over there, what they preferred. Then even hygiene levels differed, even customer interactions. Some shopkeepers, they were really friendly to talk to. They answered all our questions, but some were like really, they had like a blank face and they didn't talk as much as they should have. And also some of it was the placement of the refrigerators. Like some had two refrigerators, some had one in like in the shop, one outside the shop, and it like differed throughout. So that's what we thought, that Monginis being a brand should have be more uniform and should like have the brand value should be more throughout, and that's why we thought the main problem was uniformity. So again, what we did was to understand these six elements better. We all individually, Sara, Tahir, Tanvi, and I, what we did, we rated each of these elements from 1 to 10. So we thought of brand messaging, product display, customer interaction, and we thought that the least, which we thought we didn't prefer out of all of these stores, were product display. Like they could have placed it better and in a more organized manner, so that when the customer enters the store, they have a faster and better decision of what product to buy. And the second, which we thought, is brand messaging, about the posters. For example, when you enter Starbucks, you see in their stores, right? Like what is the new product available, then what offers are going on. And even though Monginis has some of them, I feel they're not that updated. So we thought of making that better and collaborating both of these aspects together. So when the customer enters the store, they have a better idea what's available and what they can buy, and they can make faster and better decisions. Then so now we reach the next step of how may we's. So we thought of a lot of questions and some problems that we could investigate and we could work upon and those ideas. So as I mentioned, we wanted to think of a way in which, like when the customer enters the store, like in 2 minutes, how could you make sure that they buy the product and leave the store? So we wanted to make it accessible and easier for them, because I feel that when we entered the store, like the products were all like, there were a lot of variety, but they weren't organized in a manner, and the posters, and there were no like some brochure, something which would help us identify what is available in the store, what can be done, if they can have cakes for Valentine's, or they can have more customized cakes. So we thought of how can we make the decision of choosing which cake to buy simpler, how may we help them get faster decisions. And so we reached our main how may we and problem statement. So our problem statement, after relating to all the observations which we had and what all I've talked about before, is how may we create a uniform experience that's easy to implement across stores. So these are based. So customers had trouble deciding what size cake to buy, then lack of labels, then product display was scattered, then posters present were very old, and no posters or brochures informing customers about the products.
Sorry. Yeah. So now that we have pointed out our main six observations, that is the six elements which we spoke about initially, also with the client, and with the observations made them more clear. We divided them at the strengths and the weakness of the brand. Now, taking those six elements, we had an ideation workshop with the sales team. We had Mr. Sanjeev and Tahir sir with us there, who have both combined 15 to 20 years of working with Monginis. With that experience, they clearly had the idea what will work and what will not. And somewhere we generated round about 50 ideas that day. Now, once we had all the ideas with us all together, we created something called as with some of the ideas which could be carried out in the short term and the long term. And we had the ideation workshop. We had a clear how may we. So that was how may we help the customer make faster, better, and informed decisions while buying cakes from the retail stores. To this, what as a prototype, what we are at the prototyping stage, what we have pitched to our client is, we strategically give a visual aid to the shop, to Monginis. That is, we give them the content and what can work out on the poster at the shops. So posters, and first would be the poster, and second is the instruction poster. So on the poster, what is the flavor of the month? What is the best seller of the week or month? and what are the upcoming festivals could be showcased on the poster. And the instruction poster would be something which would talk about what is the aftercare of the cake which should be taken once the cake is bought. How should where how At what time should it be stored, and how you could make it once you buy it from the shop, how can you keep it more fresh. So that's about it. And for moving on to more about it, that is the visual aid. How can we use more pastel colors and have catchy captions, proper image spacing, and positioning of the cake? How do we get the more modern touch to it, and catchy captions? And how do we concise the brief information regarding the next steps of the cake would be on the instruction poster. So these are some of the posters as references which we have used to as the visual aids to the Monginis team. And yeah, with this we would want to conclude with our learnings and with.
And I think I feel extremely energized and very invested. I not begin, but I believe in the power of design thinking all over again, right? It's a very, very solid, structured approach to kind of hitting a business objective or a business problem. And then, like I mentioned before, I'm really envious of the journey that you guys are having, right? This whole exposure of getting your hands dirty, being on ground, speaking to customers, competition, business owners. It's nothing beats that, right? Nothing beats being on the floor. So soak it up, right? I mean, it's you're lucky. I mean, it's really good. And then of course there is a theory, but applying that theory, it's all up to you. I think it was very well organized, Aditya. I think it was bang on. So I think super happy with how structured this event was, and how well you've managed everything, right? So I feel really nice to be a part of this forum. Thank you so very much again for inviting.
It's really heartening to see all the energy in each group and the effort which everyone has put into projects, right? Yeah, so that was nice. In fact, considering that for most of them it was their first design thinking project, ability to apply the tools, try to stick to the process, because it's very difficult. It's a structured process of problem solving, and it takes time to get used to that structure. And I struggled initially, right? So that effort was very good. From how you've conducted, honestly, Aditya and you and the team, I must tell you, about 7-8 years back, I did my first training through MIT Sloan for design thinking. It was very similar in terms of time given and all. So I think it was perfect. Okay, probably you guys have done much better in terms of giving them tools and all, right?
Aditya, for inviting me, and always a pleasure connecting with enterprise and partners. I agree with Sonali and Mohit both. It's very well organized. I think the effort to put all the information together is understood, and the difficult part is always what to keep and what to remove from the presentation. It's very, very difficult to analyze, and I've always had a problem with that. But very nicely done. I think since most of you are doing it for the first time, it must be a little confusing for you as to what kind of activities get repeated in all the steps, and some activities kind of jump or skip the steps and things like that. But I think once you start putting this more into practice, it will come much more you can say intuitively. And the more times you do this is the more times it will become perfect in your mind about how it is actually that it works. And it works differently for different clients. So all the three clients were of very different nature, so that was very interesting to see. And one of the great things about this time, like also Sonali was saying, it's very you feel very jealous, because now you know that you have so many people doing different things, and you get to know about all of them at the same time. So it's actually multiplication of your experiences, and that's the core about doing any group activity, being in college or school or enterprise or whatever. So that's, I think it's quite great. So the experience is multifold.
I think even like I can share one thing, like when you're speaking to Nitin sir, or like what you were talking about. So like he said one thing, like you really have to understand like who your main target audience is and the mindset they enter the shop with. Like he gave an example, like suppose I am going to, like he gave an example, like if you're going to Starbucks coffee, or if you're going to, you enter with a different mindset. But if you go to a Wagh Bakri shop to like have chai, you enter with a very different mindset. So more than understanding the person, it's important to understand the mindset in which you're entering the store. So I think that was really cool. So he's like, you should ask them like like different questions regarding like see what time they're entering the store, who they're coming with, what, like what the occasion is, and all those other questions to understand what mindset they're coming in rather than who the person is. So I think that was really cool through the conversation I had.